5 hard skills keeping project managers stuck at the plateau. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management expert. I help professionals to become successful project managers. How I do that can go from providing training, mentoring, providing tools so they can apply and get the results in practice there. Before I start, don't forget to like and share this video here so we can get more people and more people can learn project management. Also, this is part of the content of a warm-up content for the Project Management Summit. The Project Management Summit is a free event I'm going to make from May 19 to May 25, where you are going to have 3 classes where I'm going to show to you the full mastery journey here and of course how you can few skills that you can start to develop so you can progress in your career there. And by the end of that, all people complete that also get a free certificate there. Everything is free. The only thing you need to do here is click in the link and subscribe. So what's the plateau, first of all? The plateau is part of the project management mastery journey. That's what you see here in the screen. I'm not going to enter in the journey a lot of details because I'm planning to do that on the project management summit. But what's already important for you to understand? So let me grab a pen here. The plateau, what I mentioned, what's the plateau, is from this level here, where you're going to see people from the level 5. This is what I call the plateau. What is exactly why I mean by project management plateau before explaining the 5 hard skills? People that are already working with project management, like if you're a project coordinator, a junior project manager, or even I've seen even senior project managers stuck in the plateau. What happened there? They get stuck and they have problems progressing on in their career, and they have problems getting consistent results in their project. That, of course, can be several different things, which again, I'm going to enter in detail in another discussion. Here, I want to talk about 5 hard skills that I see that people are stuck in the plateau. Very commonly, they have this gap. And so if they address this gap, that's already one step further to make sure that they can progress to their career for the next level. What I call the consistent performance there, that's if you look for a performance scale from 0 to 10, is there are people that are already in a higher level and they're higher end, are able to execute and deliver projects successfully with confidence and so on. So what are the hard skills that I often see with the project manager stuck in the plateau? What's important here that those hard skills for people stuck in the plateau does not mean that if they work longer with project management, they are going to automatically move for the next level. Because what happened a lot of times, and I've seen a lot of even senior project managers, that they are stuck in this plateau. The first hard skill that I see a lot of times missing is basic organization. What do I mean by basic organization? It's like if you think about organization, as the definition I like to use when I talk about that is organization are the systems that you put in place to enable you to deliver something. So what are those organizational skills that I'm talking about? Well, it's basically the structure that you are going to put in the project, starting, for example, for a work breakdown structure to keep it organized, to keep the structure in the different levels so you can keep the high deliverables, what's included in each of the deliverables. So that's the basic organization structure that you have. But can have like organization in the SharePoint, meaning that if you're working to a project with a team, you're using a SharePoint or something that's similar there, like or a Google Drive. But you have a structure for the folders for the project and all the information is there. Because if all the information is there, that's easily accessible. That's easy for your team to reach and to work with that. So this organization, the intent of is taking all the data that you have for the project. Think about if you're working with big teams, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 people involved in a project there. One of your main goals as a project manager is to put structure in place and make sure that the people are aligned to execute it. But if you don't have this basic organization there, what happens I see a lot of times, all the information about the project is spread around different spreadsheets, presentations, a lot of information spread around emails, and then it gets to a level of complication and complexity that gets first, it's time consuming to find important information there. It's time consuming for your team to understand it, to digest that. If you organize this, so your goal with the organization is taking data and putting this in a kind of format of a database. What's the difference between having data and a database? Data everybody has. All projects have, all companies they have a data. But again, the data is spread all around that. What you want and what's the difference of having a database is their organization is the data is organized in an actionable way, in a way that people can take, can analyze it, and can take the decisions to move forward with that. So that's your first goal while creating a project organization there. So you can work in organization, your WBS, in your timeline, with your scope, including requirements and assumptions, with purchase orders. You can add organization, your business case, making sure that this is clear, stating what's changing from one version to another one. This is a simple thing, so you don't need anything special to start to create organization. So you don't need to be very smart, or you don't need to, this is not like rocket science. You don't need anything special with that. You just need to understand that organization is important, again, with the idea that you're going to turn a general data in a kind of database. And when I'm talking about database, I'm not expecting you that you're really going to create a database. So a database should be between brackets. It's not like you're going to create a database. You can do that, but that's not really necessary depending on the type of project. A fancy database, you're going to connect with a Power BI, or you're going to have software for analysis or anything like that. It's again the structure that you put in place to execute your projects. From basic stuff from SharePoint to organize risk and assumptions, to organize risk and assumptions and requirements, organize changes and this kind of stuff. This is for whatever type of project that you're working on. So one of the, for example, you need to do that if you're working and following a traditional approach. You need to do that if you're following, for example, Scrum. What's the product backlog on Scrum? Well, it's all the information, all the requirements, all the work to be done, organized and kept in a proper way. So this is organization. The next step or the next hard skill that I see that a lot of project managers they miss there is financial literacy there. What do I mean financial literacy? Well, you need to have a basic knowledge and understanding on finance. So you are going to be able to do cost management. You are going to be able to also to understand and manage your business case. Not all projects will have business case, 100% true. But in all projects you are going to need to do cost management there. No project will have unlimited budgets there. So keep that in mind. Why this is so important? There's the latest research from PMI shows that almost 1 in 2, so almost one project management tool, so 50% of the project managers, they do not have an understanding of what, they do not have basic understanding on finance. What's that a problem? If you do not understand how to make a cost management, how to create a budget, if you do not understand how your business case, you're not going to be able to make decisions. A lot of times when you're going to work with decision making and prioritization, a lot of those things driving that, not only that, of course, that's not only the financial part that plays a role in decision making and prioritization, but of course, the finance part is always important there. If you do not understand, so by default, your decision making and prioritization process is already not a very good one because you do not understand. What happens is, let me tell you a situation that from that I've seen in your organization that was a project manager there, and he started to get questions from management, and he did not know how to update the business case, how to discuss that business case. So even in management review meetings, we were there, we were discussing the projects, And suddenly we start to discuss his project. So he was completely left out of the discussion because he did not understand anything what's in the business case. So he was sitting there, not understanding even the discussion going on. So of course, if you do not understand the discussion going on, he was just left behind. He does not understand how he's going to follow up that, and of course, that does not show that does not give a lot of trust to the management team that this guy was like on the top of the project. So that's why the results are inconsistent here. That's why the struggle was inconsistent. If you cannot prioritize, if you cannot decide, he was of course always busy doing the work, but every time that he would interact with the higher management there, when it goes to the business case, he was kind of lost. And of course, that that made them not trust him that much. Not trust him in a way that okay, he was not a trustable person, that he had any kind of issue, but say, oh, this person does not understand what's going on with the business case. So I assume that he's not on top of what's going on there, and then that might create a problem for the organization there. So keep in mind, and again, finance is not a rocket science. I understand, and because I do a lot of trainings, like in the past year, in the past couple of years, I've trained more than I think 120, 140 consultants in the Benelux, Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and all in the Nordic countries there. And every time I get this feedback that a lot of times people struggle in the financial part of the program because then in the program I teach okay the basics on finance, how to develop a budget, how to do cost management, how you can build up a business case and how you can understand a business case. And a lot of people struggle with that because I understand that a lot of people by default they don't like numbers. Maybe they don't like math, they don't like finance or whatever. But guess what? Finance is essential for your life. For your personal life, it's important. Also for your career, for your projects. And also an interesting stuff from the last PMI survey there that I've already mentioned. Almost one in two project managers they do not have good finance knowledge there, and this is a self-assessment. But because if you check it in reality, the numbers should be lower because a lot of people think they understand, but in reality, they don't. But if you look for managers there, like if you want to go up in the organization, the finance knowledge was, I think, around 80% of the managers there. So if you're looking there, because a lot of times people tell me that I'm looking for edge. Understanding finance is an edge. If you're want to be a manager someday, you need to understand finance. And you say even for management, there's a big part, 20% is still a high number that they do not have under finance knowledge there. And of course, that will make them struggle in their career, but that's a different type of discussion. So you need to make sure that you understand how to put a structure in place, so organization, you need to understand finance there. So let's go for the other hard skill that a lot of times people are missing there. It's basically time management. Time, and what I mean time management is time management for your own time and for your team's time. Is are you investing your time in the right stuff? Are you effective in the discussions that you are having with your team? Are you effective in managing your own agenda? Because I've seen, for example, very simple example here, project managers working late to create reports that they were required every month at the same day of the month. Let's assume here that in a lot of companies they have what's called a steering board meeting or a project review meeting or whatever you want to call it. What this meeting is about? They're going to review the status of the project, and sometimes they have this, and then you need to prepare a report for the meeting, and sometimes you need to submit the report up front. But most of the companies that always happen in the same day of the month, meaning maybe it's the second Tuesday of the month, or the first Tuesday of the month, or the third Tuesday, or whatever date it is. But it's most of cases always a fixed date that you need to prepare the report and you need to prepare for the presentation. And I've seen a lot of project managers, they are working late to do that. And they're saying, I'm busy, I'm busy. Yes, I can understand if that happens once in a month, but if it happens with consistent in every month, that's a problem that you do not know how to arrange your own agenda. And what's the problem with that? That you get your efficiency is low and your effectiveness is also low, which drives you to work more. What also the problem with that? Well, if you do not know how to organize your own time to be effective, you're not going to understand how you help your team to organize their time to be effective. So there's a very high chance there that what you're doing there, instead of helping your team to perform better, you're wasting their time. So instead of helping to improve the performance of your team, you have the opposite effect there. And I've seen plenty of times project managers there with useless meetings, without a clear agenda, without clear actions. The type of project manager, there's the type of project manager that never know what's going on. So he or she goes to a meeting, he asks the fucking same questions every time. And of course, that's also wear off the team because it gets the impression that you as the project manager, you need to be there to add value for you, for the organization and for the team, not to drag your team down. So this is quite important here. So keep in mind that you need to understand how you manage your own time. And this is a hard skill. It's a matter of organizing your agenda and starting to be consistent in what you're going to do. So this is quite important here. The next one, it's different frameworks. Why I'm talking about different frameworks here. And what I mean by a framework? Well, you can look waterfall, it's a framework. Scrum is a framework. Kanban, it's a framework. Safe, it's a different framework. You can have a hybrid framework if you mix more than one framework. Why is that important? First of all, I've seen people saying that or they do a master or they do a short training on Coursera, or sometimes people that they have been working with project manager for a few years, but they never had a formal training there. And they think that they have some understanding on project management. But what I can tell you, I've been working with project management for more than 15 years. There are the different levels of understanding that you're going to get project management. You can look even for the different stages of learning. In a level, of course, you are in the zero that you don't know anything, but to get a level of mastery, you need to continue to develop. And one of the ways that you can reach this learning is what's called the meta learning. What's exactly meta learning means? You're going to look for different frameworks, waterfall, and then you're going to look agile. Agile, again, is an umbrella term that goes inside of agile. Scrum, Kanban, DSDM, XP, and a lot of stuff can go here. You can look for Lean, and all those different frameworks, they're going to give you different perspectives in project management. So for example, when I talk about organization, a lot of people think that if you're working with Agile or Scrum, there's no organization. Yes, there is organization. There is prioritization there. This is quite important in all types of projects. So when you start to look on those different frameworks, you start to create this type of meta knowledge because you're going to see the foundations of project management. It grows across frameworks, things that you need to create to bring clarity to your team, to have the organization, to have the right prioritization, to have clear requirements, or if you don't have clear requirements, to have clear assumptions. All those kinds of things, more you look into that in different perspective, will bring you a lot of knowledge by doing that. So your knowledge will grow because instead of having like a tunnel view or a very closed view here on waterfall, for example, you're going to broaden your perspective, looking for different tools, different ways how you can interact with your team, different ways to make your team more effective, different ways to bring value for different stakeholders. And even as important as that, once you understand the different frameworks, you are going to understand that different projects have different situations, different types of constraints, and you are going to have those different tools that you can adapt. So if you make a very stupid analogy here, think that you are Batman here. Then what Batman has in his belt, the Bat belt, if you want to call like that, or the utility belt, he has a lot of tools that he uses in a lot of different situations. If you watch, of course, the old cartoons there, he always grabs something there, there's a bomb, and there's all types of tools that can save him from all those different types of challenge. That's what you're going to create. You're going to have under your belt, your utility belt, like Batman, you're going to have different types of tools that you can use. In a project that has a lot of uncertainty that you're going to create, maybe it's good that you start to look into a Scrum framework or working with Kanban. Or in a project that has a fixed price project, with a very clear scope in the beginning, maybe you look for a more waterfall approach. And maybe on depending on the situation, you kind of mix. This is also going to enable you to grow faster because if you do not have a deep understanding on the different frameworks, it's going to be hard from moving from the plateau to be a consistent performance there. So keep that in mind. This is quite important. So it's not only about waterfall, it's not only about Scrum, it's not only about Kanban. If you want to keep progressing your career, yes, you're going to need to learn the different items there. And of course, if you say, but I'm just in starting, so you start with the basics, then you're going to need to move forward. But to move from this plateau, you start to have this type of knowledge to make sure that you can develop this deep knowledge on project management there. Let's talk about the 5 hard skills that I see uh, as a gap for a lot of project managers. And this gap here is lack of project management knowledge. That's also connected with the framework, but in a different way. The framework will give you this broad view or perspective to make sure that you understand the big picture and you understand how to tackle that one. But what do I mean for the lack of basic project management knowledge? It's meaning like a lot of project managers, they have heard what's the critical path, but they do not understand how to use the critical path. For example, I'm going to tell you a case from a junior project manager I'm mentoring there. So there was some activities in the critical path there was, of course, if you're working a big project, you usually have a big list of tasks. So you have task 1, task 2, task 3, and blah, blah, blah. If you have something in the critical path, usually that's high in the priority list. Why? Because if you delay the critical path, you're going to delay the project. And this junior project manager, she had something here in the critical path that needs to be solved with a supplier. But she was working on the activity, I don't know, number 5 in the priority list. And she's keep working and keep working on that until I interfere as the mentor, say, hey, stop what you're doing, focus on task number 1. Make sure you close task number 1. Then she says, why? Because if you delay the task number 1, that's part of the critical path, you're going to delay your entire project. So this is not something that you say, oh, I'm going to do it next week. Because if you take 1 week to solve something in the critical path, you're going to delay your project in 1 week. This is a very basic understanding, and she knows what's a critical path. But that's very basic understanding how you make the bridge between the theory, what's a critical path, between the practice, what's a critical path, how you implement that. And this is one case, but there's a lot of different cases where, because people lack the basic understanding of project management, what happens if they lack this basic understanding of project management? So why it's important to have a work breakdown structure? They're not going to create a work breakdown structure. They heard what's a work breakdown structure, or they even create one, very simple one. For example, in another mentee that I had, he also was a junior project manager. He created a very big project that he had, a complex one, and I asked him, do you have a WBS? And he said, yes. So the WBS was as follows: project name. So then he goes for the next level. He had 5 tasks here, 5 tasks. So this is like a tooling that he had to do. This was documentation. This was training. This was process that needs to be implemented. This was legal stuff, more or less something like that. And he presented to me, this is my WBS. And then I asked, okay, what do you need to do inside of tooling? Oh, I need to purchase more than 100 tools here. Okay, how you're going to control that in that level of WBS. So this is, you can see here, level 0, this is level 1. And he did not continue to break down the levels of the WBS to map the scope and to understand and manage this in a proper way. Again, this is a lack of basic knowledge in project management. Because if you do not have this basic knowledge in project management, you're not going to be able to progress with your performance. You're always going to get stuck here in this plateau. And here, if you are looking for the graph, I'm presenting here a scale of months. Of course, this is a scale that it's reasonable for you to develop yourself, but does not mean that necessarily after 6 months you are going to move to one level to another. If you do not close the gaps that I'm mentioning here, and for example, here I just mentioned few hard skill gaps that you're going to see. There's other stuff that needs to be considered there. You're not going to be able to progress. And that's how you see senior project managers, and I've met senior project managers with, I don't know, 20 plus years of experience that they were stuck in this plateau here. No finance knowledge, poor understanding or base concept knowledge, poor organization skills, and they were stuck here. And why I'm making this video only talk about the hard skills? Because the hard skills, they are the easy part to develop. So if I talk about a soft skill, for example, leadership, that requires much more effort to develop leadership skills. That's why it's called a soft skill. But it's also, of course, mandatory for you to have. But if the hard skills, that in theory, they are the low-hanging fruit, you don't have any, you're not developing, you already have a problem. If you cannot develop your hard skills, you're not going to develop, you're not, for sure, you're not going to develop your soft skills. And I've seen, for example, a senior project manager. In this case, he was saying that he was a senior program manager. This case, again, probably around 30 years of experience. He wanted to try to manage a project because he was saying that I have the soft skills or leadership skills. But if you do not understand the basics on the project, on critical path, on business case, you're not going to be able to manage anything. You're not going to be able to add any type of value there because I'm a leader. So what he was doing there, he was just going to the team. Good job, team. I'm nothing without you, and blah blah blah. This is bullshit. I'm not saying you should not do that, but what kind of value you're going to add for the project, for the team, for the organization? If the only value that you add is going to the team, they're saying, "Oh, team, you are amazing." You suck as a project manager and as a leader. Sorry to say that, but you need to understand that the hard skills that are the easy part to develop. Other hard skills that's very useful for project managers, and I've seen a lot of project managers that do not understand this. Using Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. Why I'm saying that? Recently, I've seen a case of a senior project manager again. He got a cost report. The cost report was inside of a pivot table. And of course, inside of a pivot table, there was some items that they were compacted there. And he, as a senior project manager, could not even understand the report or look or analyze the report. Why? Because there was a plus sign collapsing all the year costs. So this was, I don't know, 2024. All the months of 2024 were collapsed and consolidating the year. And he said, I want to check the cost per month. And he did not have this basic knowledge on Microsoft Excel to say, or even the curiosity here, you also cannot take a look even in the soft skill that you're not even trying to learn. But anyway, click in the button here in the plus sign and open to analyze the report, or at least try. Again, Excel, it's a hard skill. In a hard skill, it's much easier to develop than a soft skill. A soft skill because it's going to your emotional intelligence, your mindset, how you approach it will require much more reflection. Using Excel, understand how to press the buttons, or like I'm mentioning Excel, but it can be exactly the same with Microsoft Project. That's a straightforward. If you cannot even develop your hard skills to leave the plateau here, man, you're going to be in trouble. And I've seen a lot of people, they don't have the hard skills here and say, but I'm developing my soft skills, as I mentioned the example. It's not going to work. Let's say that you have a very good emotion intelligence that you want to manage your team there. And then you go for the team needs to, you need to go for a situation where you need decision making and prioritization. Well, you do not understand the business case, you do not understand the critical path, you do not even understand properly the scope of your work there, or you're missing half of the scope of your work, how you're going to be able to prioritize. And this is what I'm talking about here. It's critical for any type of project, any type of framework that you're approaching on. There's prioritization to Kanban, very critical. There's prioritization to Scrum. That's why in the product backlog, everything should be organized by priority there, by the value delivery that it brings to the product. So keep that in mind. So those 5 hard skills that I mentioned to you, they are kind of low-hanging fruits that you can start to work on. And I'm going to cover the full journey here in the Project Management Summit. So if you're interested to understand also the different levels I've already mentioned, subscribe, it's free. I'm going to give you more into the journey and more into the tools, how you can develop yourself. So let me just wrap up reminding you, what's the first and the hard skill that you need to develop? Organization. So think about organization, the definition that I mentioned to you is those are the organization are the systems that you put in place to get results there. So you can organize your work breakdown structure, you can organize your timeline, you can organize your product backlog, you can organize your SharePoint. This will help you and your team to perform better. Number 2, financial understanding, financial literacy there, because you need to understand how to create a budget, how to manage the cost into your project, how to create a business case, and how to manage a business case into your project. Number 3 that I mentioned, time management. You need to understand how you're going to manage your own agenda, your own time. If you cannot manage your own time, very chance that you're going to like to screw up the time for your team. So you're going to decrease the efficiency of your own team and yourself. So you need to understand how to work with time management. Number 4, frameworks. That's about the meta learning that I mentioned to you to be able to build this broader knowledge, to be able to have the different tools. Remember that you're going to have the Batman belt there with a lot of different tools to using a lot of different type of products. If you don't believe it, that's how I was able to move from engineering, procurement, and construction industry to supply chain development for automotive, to product development for automotive, to semiconductor development, to service development. How I moved for all those different industries was with my black belt, if you want to call it like that. And the number 5, very critical one, understand the basic project management knowledge and how you understand the concept, but how you get and how you put this into practice. Again, if you have questions, you can ask here in the comments. Feel free to go to my Instagram, send me a direct message there in my inbox telling me what's your situation, where you are in this journey here, and what's your struggles. I'm going to be very happy to take a look and have a chat with you. Don't forget, of course, to subscribe for the Project Management Summit. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my Instagram or to follow my Instagram. Every day there's more content. To follow my YouTube. Every week there's more content there. And see you in the Project Management Summit. Thank you. Bye.